Hello fellow woers, this is Landro off of the Wildhammer EU server, bringing you, finally, belatedly, weeks later than I originally said I would, but here is my first PvP video. It's a mishmash of footage taken from a load of random BGs and some arena that I've done over the last couple of weeks. PvP in general is a little bit different to PvE. You can't just record an entire encounter and hope that that will suffice, because quite often there are down periods. There's periods where nothing's happening and you don't really want to, bore people with those. So I got a bit of action here for this first part of this video, and this is Alliance trying to get Blacksmith against a Horde team. Pretty evenly balanced team here. There's a couple of healers against a couple of healers. Few DPS against a few DPS, so it was a nice fair fight. First thing I do is go in there and get the fear off, get people using their trinkets nice and early. But also it gives me a chance to see what healers we're up against, and as you can see I picked out the druid then, and done the thing that defines Disc Priests, and that's mana burn. Get in as many mana burns as you can, in amongst the shields, in amongst your dispelling and your mass dispels. Make sure that you get mana burns in. It adds to the pressure. When their encounters are quite chaotic like this, you'll find that healers won't necessarily line of sight you like they would normally when you're mana burning. As you can see, this druid obviously was either unaware that I was doing it or didn't want to react. Annoying thing with druids is they've got so many hots and so many buffs on them. As you can see, I'm spamming dispels, but I cannot get that innovate off of him, so you got a little bit of mana back. I then spotted the shaman, so I used the other powerful tool at our disposal, and that's mind control, and sought to get him as far away from his team as possible. So I wanted to walk him away. It's just to add that little bit of confusion and element of surprise and pressure to your team. But as long as you keep dispelling, as long as you're aiding by topping people off, shielding fellow casters is very important. Shield not only for the damage mitigation that it provides, but it also provides a little bit of a resistance to knockbacks as well. Keep trying to click the flag, keep trying to capture it. If somebody loses focus on the opposition team, you might ninja a flag. But because we fell behind at the start of this battle, they managed to get the initial tag on the flags, which is a huge problem, because what happens then is you'll get respawns throughout the battle, so you've got to ensure that you really do get the upper hand, and we managed to do that by getting the pressure onto their DPS and onto their healers, by doing the mana burns and dispelling any CC off any of your friends or your allies that are close. Lots of movement, lots of spells, lots of shields, lots of mana burns, strategic mind controls and fears, and eventually you'll get enough time to be able to do some damage and maybe ninja a kill or two. As you can see, it was just the druid and the hunter left here, so I wanted to mind control the druid so that the DPS could focus on the hunter and get a kill because he was low HP. I wanted to walk the druid down towards me, and the aim was to fear him when he was walked towards me. The hunter scattershot me, so I had to wait a few seconds, but the druid didn't actually seek to reposition himself, so I just got the fear off, and then you can get the kills, as you can see there on, or I think I might even get the kill here, but you can get kills then when the healers are otherwise occupied, and I ninja'd the flag just in time, just before all the respawns start coming back again. And then you get the second battle where you've got to fight off the second wave, but by this time we actually had the upper hand. We were aware of what our team makeup was in this vicinity. I was using my power infusion offensively on the warlock to give him an increase in damage, and I was trying to help the damage output to pressure the healer, and I can ninja a Shadow of Death kill here. But that's basically the first video. Now we move to another location momentarily. So yeah, this next little bit of footage is slightly less epic on my part. I saw the stables as under attack. It's the same Rifty Basin, same teams. I saw a warlock down there with a hunter and a rogue on him, so I thought I'd go and give him a hand. He died, but I still thought I could maybe stall them from capping the flag. But as it transgressed, all I done was got owned by a rogue, a druid, a rogue, and a hunter, and they sought to gank me very, very quickly. Now, this next little bit of footage is an Armoury Valley, and I done the big no-no, and I got enticed into a Field of Strife encounter at the start of this battle. It was late at night. In fact, it was early in the morning. I was struggling to sleep, so I decided to do a bit of PvP, and and I decided I just wanted a bit of fun. If you see a paladin pop his wings, obviously you want to get that off. I was master spelling here because I could be fairly confident that the other enemies around him also had buffs that could come off. It was the start of the BG, so I was assuming that everybody was fully buffed. And this bit of footage is showing not only to show how much of a noob I am by getting involved in the field of strife, but I wanted to give you a representation of a mass PvP environment. So as you can see, I'm shackling the ghoul here, which is a huge nerf to unholy DK's damage. And then you're doing a lot of the other things are the same. You're dispelling, your prayer of mending, you're renewing, you're penancing, you're trying to deal with healers. So as you can see, I've got the healer target and I'm moving in for a fear. And of course what I want to do there is be walking forward, dispelling offensively to remove his fear ward. As you can see, I don't have my fear ward on, because what I tend to do is use my target me cast fear ward macro when I see them doing it to me, and when they're just about in range, rather than have it sat on me to be dispelled. But the main reason I wanted to show this little bit of footage, other than a mass PvP environment when it gets a bit crazy, is I wanted to show you what it's like to have to remember everything and when you lose focus. So there's a lot of melee damage going about here, so I'm having to position myself to keep the melees in range whilst also keeping myself at max range. That's the key to a healer. And there's a guy at the bottom of my healbot there called Dins, who's just had a pain suppression. He was taking a lot of damage, so I'm trying to keep all the melees topped up. You know, bouncing my graces and penances and renews around, and then I see this DK pop up beside me. And as I mentioned before about the unholy DK damage, I see the ghoul gets empowered, so obviously my focus then switches to that to get a shackle off. It's very important. During which Dins actually died. So retrospectively, what you'd want to be doing there is ensuring Dins survives rather than doing a shackle. Now this bit of information is one of those glorious failures you get with your leap of faith. So I get Alendi out there, and he gets death gripped right back into a whole horde, if you like. And then of course, once they disposed of the last few K of his HP, they wanted to take me out. So I was trying my damnedest to survive. What you want to be doing as a healer, of course, if you think you can survive, using your cooldowns and hoping that you get some help, some backup arrive. These guys seemed pretty intent on killing me. It's the Camel Hoarder title, I'm sure it is. People just look at that and just think, oh, this guy's a noob, let's take him out. Camel Hoarder, what is this? And they just seem to tunnel you. But sure enough, your backup will arrive if you can survive long enough. I had a Dark Simulacry, or whatever the wording is, of the DK ability that mirrors the next mana costing spell. If you don't want to cast when that's on, as you can see, I wasn't flash healing because I didn't want to give a free heal to the DK. It turns out it wouldn't have mattered too much, but it's worth remembering that things like Levitate are usable. So normally if I see that come up, I will Levitate myself, and then that's the spell that gets mirrored for the DK, which is quite amusing. Haven't yet seen a DK use that to any real advantage, but it would be quite funny if I saw a DK get away by using my Levitate spell. So this next little bit of footage I want to show is your role as a disc priest if you are dominating an opposition you want to land a kill or assist a land a kill. I suppose this would be relevant in 2v2 arena, but it's quite relevant when you come across people in BGs you want to get rid of quickly. As you can see, this Beast Mastery Hunter sought to gank me, and he used Beastal Wrath quite early in the encounter. He also used Intimidate, I think is the pet ability, which gives you a 3-second stun. It's important to remember when the classes you're fighting have used their stuns, because if you know they have, you can, in a focus, safe in the knowledge that you're going to be able to free cast through it and they won't stun you. So what you want to be doing when you get the upper hand on oppositions is firstly clear them of the buffs. You want to get all the buffs off, and then you can assist with a bit of damage. I like to dot hunters, I like to dot rogues, and I like to dot ferals primarily. I'll sometimes dot other classes if I'm worried that my damage will be consistent enough to put any pressure on, or their damage will be consistent enough to put the pressure on, so I can't free cast Mind Spikes. So I dot to keep the damage rolling over. I don't do it too much because it's quite mana draining for a disc priest to be dotting all the time. As you can see, I come across another hunter here and a rogue who was hitting pretty hard, as rogues tend to do at the moment. But you have enough defensive survivability to be able to survive if they're not that coordinated with their CCs and with their cooldowns. If they just come in and try and gank, you should be okay. I'm running with only 3,800 resilience in this video. I've now upped it to 4,500, which made a huge difference. But you can survive as a disc priest if you use your cooldowns well. If a couple of DPS stumble across you and your cooldowns are all on cooldown, and theirs aren't, they will inevitably gank you very, very quickly. But I got a bit of backup here. Another priest showed up, and there's 2 or 3 of us by the end of this. What I want to do now is talk a little bit about PvP in general. There's loads of really good tutorials, really good tips on YouTube and on the World Wide Web talking about PvPing, but a lot of them are geared up to very, very exceptionally skilled players. You know, the kind of 2,400, 2,600 rank 1 arena players. That doesn't mean there's not a place for your casual WoWer to have their say and to give some tips and advice. And the difference between your casual WoWer and your more elite WoWer, not only the amount of time they dedicate to playing their character, it's also the amount of time they dedicate into researching the opposition, because that's the key element here, is knowing when to use your cooldowns in conjunction with when an opposition uses their cooldowns. You can become quite knowledgeable in your class without dedicating all of your life to it. So, and that's kind of where I'm at. I know the Disc Priest class, and the advice I give is relevant to other Disc Priests, but it also gives people an idea of what Disc Priests do, and what you can expect them to do against you, and what they expect you to do against them. So the videos are kind of just a little bit of insight in that front. But primarily we do it because I do it because I want to have fun. That's what it's all about. If you don't enjoy the game, if you find yourself getting stressed and it's time you take a break or it's time you chill out, I've done a couple of seasons where I thought, right, I'm going to have a really good go at this, and you end up getting stressed, you fall out with people, and it's not what the game's about. So enjoy it primarily, that is what I'll say. If you're enjoying it, the rewards will far outweigh any titles you could acquire or any arena experience you could get. But the tips and the advice I give will be relevant from a Disc Priest to people facing Disc Priests, and hopefully it'll give you some little ideas on, you know, what PvP is all about. And at the end of the day, it's about having fun. Now, these 2 guys, they wanted to have fun by ganking me. That's some people's idea of fun. So the Hammer of Justice went off early, and that's fine, because I knew, again, my inner focus could be used, and I can free cast thereafter, so that's absolutely fine. Now, the rogue whom assaulted us earlier, Face Roll, still about. Recuperate is a hugely powerful ability for rogues. It can heal. I've got a rogue, and I've got the improved Recuperate and the 10% health increased healing on myself, and my ticks of Recuperate heal for 8,000. Now, when you factor in the notion that renewed ticks are about 3k with no grace, it just goes to show how powerful Recuperate is, and this rogue without any heals is now back to full health, which is it goes to show the state of rogues at the moment. But we you know, me and my fellow Disc Priest Schmarrips were doing quite well until I saw coming over the horizon, like the Rohirrim in Lord of the Rings, a gazillion horde, and all kinds of glaives and bears and hunters and rogues, and they, you know, ganking ensued, as they say. Tried to stay up for as long as I can. I was just intent on holding these guys up. If you've got the glaives wailing down on you on a bridge rather than on your gate, I'm happy with that. Turns out hiding behind a tree is pretty ineffective. I thought it'd be pretty cool, you know, if I line of sight everybody with this tree. It didn't happen. They just ganked me. One of your roles as a healer, and quite often this will be a scenario that you come across, is you'll come to your flag carrier who's low HP with a couple of enemy mobs on him. Now, for the first few, 10-15 seconds you arrive, more often than not, most oppositions will still focus, still tunnel vision the flag carrier, and then they'll seek to sort of deal with you. And it's at that time your flag carrier can do either one or two things, and both these are quite viable. They can either stay and they can help you fight, and you can look to kill the people that are with you, or they can leg it and get into a safe place with more support, and that's what this flag carrier chose to do, and that's absolutely fine. I have no problem with that. If I die, I'm rezzing closer to the flag carrier anyway, so I'm fine with that. And I'm occupying now these DPS who were going after the flag, and probably would have got a kill relatively soon if I hadn't arrived. As you can see, this rogue's hitting pretty hard, but I've got backup from a balanced druid whom I gave my power infusion, and he subsequently went crazy and killed this warlock. I was just staying alive really here. There wasn't really too much damage incoming. I knew that the trinket was on cooldown for this rogue, so it was just a matter of waiting for fear, and then you're back to full health once he's out of range, and inevitably a rogue will Cloak of Shadows vanish when they feel like they've lost the advantage. So thanks for viewing these videos. It's been fun. There'll be many more coming in the future. Landro out.